Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Prices of BTC currently at 11,688, and it's about 7 a.m. here on the East Coast. And it looks like on the 30-minute chart, price looks like it's creating a nice bull flag right here, as you can see. Lots to go through today, so stay patient, and hopefully you guys will get some good information out of this video. And like always, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment of your thoughts, where you think Bitcoin is going. And lastly, come join the Cryptosomniac community, folks. Products right here. And if you pay $10, you will get 1 week free in the Cryptosomniac Advantage community, which is this Trader Talk channel and all these locked channels that you see. All right. So we're constantly rolling out new material, folks, constantly putting out new trades, information, staying very engaged with the Advantage members. So if you're into that sort of thing and you want to become a trader or you want to become a long-term investor, this is the community for you. All right. So come join either by the course or the Advantage program right here, and then just shoot me a message when you come in. All right. Let's get to it, folks. All right, so I had the 30-minute chart pulled up here, okay? And yesterday in my community, I mentioned that we were seeing this sort of descending trend line right here. People said that, hey, is this an inverse head and shoulders? No, it's actually not, because you could see that here's the left shoulder, here's the head right there, but the right shoulder digs deeper than the head. So that's not an inverse head and shoulders. I guess you could make the argument that this part right here is the left shoulder, this is the head, and this is the right shoulder. And that one kind of broke through really nicely. But I don't think the volume, kind of lined up perfectly, but it was definitely a pretty decent looking structure for inverse head and shoulders. Okay. Now remember, folks, head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, none of these patterns mean anything if the volume doesn't line up and the structure isn't clean looking, right? So you can see clearly right here, left shoulder is well defined, head is well defined, right shoulder is a little bit, more well defined, right? You can't just have sort of like a squiggly looking head and shoulders or inverse head and shoulders just because you want to see it, okay? And more importantly, like I said, the volume must add up, to the head and shoulders top or the head and shoulders bottom, okay? And you can read about the volume on Investopedia, stock charts. You can even come join our community and I can explain it to you. There's a ton of information that I've placed in the education channel to be able to explain that, okay? So with that being said, now that we broke out this descending trend line and this potential inverse head and shoulders, we're now flagging right near 11.7, 11.8 resistance, okay? No surprise there, right? So what is our next step? Okay, so first things first, I had mentioned a few things yesterday in my video. First thing is this 1 hour descending trend line on the RSI, okay? We hit oversold on the 1 hour and we broke outside of this trend line, so that's another positive sign, okay? So on the 30-minute, we've turned around, broken out of this trend line. On the 1 hour, we've broken out of a critical descending trend line resistance on the RSI. We actually also had some bullish divergence being played out. Here's that higher low right there in price, right? Right there. Okay. And where was that lower low? I'm sorry. This was the bullish divergence. There we go. Here's that lower low in price right there, okay? And here was the higher low right there in RSI, okay? You can see that right there, right? Higher low in RSI, lower low in price, okay? So that also played out really perfectly and prices moved away, okay? The last 2 days of my videos, folks, have been very on point. Now, again, I don't try to say that I'm very accurate with my calls or my setups. Honestly, no one really needs to be. The best traders in the world really just need to have maybe a 50 to 60% strike rate, meaning that they just need to be right just 50 or 60% of the time. Okay, so even if I'm wrong 40 to 50% of the time, that's fine, right? Because I just need to make sure that my winners are bigger than my losers. Okay, that's it. So with that being said, 2 days ago in my video, I saw this bearish divergence playing out, which was higher highs on price, lower high on the RSI. And I stated that around this 12.9 area, that's pretty big resistance right here. I actually sold around this region right here, 12.5, 12.6, and I let go of this run. And then I mentioned 2 days ago in my video that this is the next block of support that we would probably fall to if we do. And that's exactly what we did. We fell to that area, bounced up, went even lower yesterday, right? And even yesterday I mentioned in my video. And again, guys, all this is on YouTube. You can go back. You can go back and watch this just for validity purposes. You could see that after we bounced off this area, and I mentioned that if we struggle through this area, chances are we're going to go back to the bottom of this green box right here. Okay, this is really the last resistance or support before we just crash basically all the way down to about maybe 10,000, but more than likely 9,798. Okay, so it was very critical for us to hold up in this area, right? And that's exactly what we did. So this was a very positive sign in my opinion that we broke through this structure of support right here, but then went down further right here, and now we climb back up with fresh demand gathering from this green box right here. Okay, all right, so now that we've trended on up and we are now again struggling to break past 11.7, 11.8, what I would say is it might be wise for you to take profit here, okay? And your next big level to be able to take profit in is probably around 12,200, anywhere between 12.1 and 12.2. You just want to be safe. Okay, so 12,100 to 12,200 will be your next area of profits. So I'm just going to sort of line that up again. Okay, and the reason I state that is because if prices struggle through this area, they can again probably come back down here and potentially break even lower again, by going back to this structure or lower. Okay, it's a very high possibility. But what I personally think is this correction that we saw is pretty much over, and now it looks like we may be headed back up. But that remains to be seen, right? I need to see exactly what price is going to do. Is it going to break past this 11.7, 11.8 level successfully? Or is it going to struggle again, come back down to this level, which is about 11,000? You typically don't want to see critical support like this be hit too many times in such a small time span. So I want prices to kind of keep pushing on up, keep the bears in check and keep them on their toes by pushing prices higher from the bulls. Okay, so when I stated this chart right here, you could see that this is our mini bull flag. Okay, let me make sure this is only minutes. Okay, so this is really our bull flag playing out right now, right? Kind of like this bull pennant, bull flag, whatever you want to call it. And again, it's sitting in this tight little area between 11.7 and like 11.5, I guess. So once it breaks out of here, the size of the pull is between 11,100 to about 11,750. So about $650 move. So from here, that would take us exactly to that 12,200 area. Okay. Another thing that I'm sort of spotting is maybe something like this that's being created. Okay. This looks like a ascending triangle, right? So we have a bull pennant in the midst of a larger ascending triangle that's being created. Okay, so I could see price sort of struggling a bit, going back to this area about 11.4, 11.5, and then ripping on through. Okay, So price could hover in this area. So another reason, if you want to be able to take profit here, short here, take profit at the bottom of this triangle, and then long here, you could. I personally think that's just too much work sometimes. I like to look at the larger structures at play, and really what I see is, when you start zooming out, folks, things really just get more and more clear. Okay, so once we did bounce off these blue markers right here, support, big support, big support, big support right there, bounce, and boom, moving on up. At least for now, I would say your next potential movement is towards that 12.1 to 12.2 area. And if it falls, then it'll fall towards this area right here, 11,000 again. All right, now let's dial back. Okay, here is something else. And again, I see a lot of people trying to look at, 15-minute, 5-minute, 1-minute charts. Folks, that's like the easiest way to drive yourself insane. Unless you are a professional that needs to be able to look at those time frames, I don't know what you're going to make out of that. Okay, unless you're just a ridiculously good trader on BitMEX, just killing it by scalping every few percent points, here and there. There's really no need to be looking at those smaller time frames. You need to focus on the bigger picture, not only for the sake of, clean, unbiased charts, but also because that's really where the big picture is defined, right? So with that being said, the 4-hour chart, after we had this descending trend line right here, or this descending parallel channel, I would say this was more of a falling wedge. So I'm going to delete this one actually. But now we're creating an ascending channel, okay? So it's more of this, big wide sort of movement that we're seeing like that. Typically you want to see like alternating touches, like you want to go from bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, right? Here it's not that perfectly defined, like, bottom, top, and then swings on up to the top again and then bottom. But I'll take it, okay? We have, 1 touch, 2 touch at the top, 1 touch, 2 touch at the bottom, okay? So with that being said, our next spot to be heading up to is towards the top of this parallel channel, which is around 13.7, 13.8, which is basically around where this top was created, okay? Now you could clearly see that this channel is in play, but on the smaller time frames, you can see that there's a lot of shakiness happening, right? Like I showed you earlier, okay? Let's see, even on the 30-minute chart that I showed you, right? So this is why, yes, it's important to sort of keep the smaller time frames in mind, but really when you dial back and zoom into the bigger 4-hour pictures, daily, weekly candles, that's really where price movement is going anyway. Okay, so make sure you keep your eye on that. Give your attention and time and energy towards those higher time frames. Okay. Now let's see what all I have to go through. Okay. So we talked about the descending trend line of the RSI, bounce up in this critical green zone right here. Next level to really look forward to is about that 12,100, 12,200 area. All right. Let me see if I can draw some wave counts here. Okay. So I had stated that, let me see if it was clear on this 2-hour. Actually, maybe it was already over here. Okay, here we go. So yesterday I had noted that, our wave count could have been wrong. This right here was actually 3. I thought 3 was going to stretch even into this one, but that doesn't make any sense because 4 cannot go deeper into this 1. So that means that this was wave 1, 2, 3 more than likely. 4 comes back, doesn't dig deeper into 1, and then the 5th has topped right here. And now we're seeing A, B, C, maybe some sideways diagonal movement. We're probably, I wouldn't really say this is This can't be one. I would say there's probably some other, I don't know, corrective structure in here itself. Or maybe we could still be in the middle of the ABC. Or actually, you could make the argument that it's AB and C right there. Okay, so then that would imply that this is 1, 2 might come back over here, and then 3 might stretch towards that, 12-1, 12-2 resistance that I stated. 4 could be right here, and 5 could be stretching up towards really that 12-7 area, 12-8, basically where I had stated that there's a good amount of resistance. Again, after 12-1, 12-2, the big resistance again is about 12,800, 12,900, right? And where I derived that from is when I started sort of seeing the closings of these candles right here, right? You can see right there, that was right around 12,900. You can see we closed even lower than that. So technically on the way up, this will also be a resistance right here where we closed under on this, high right here, lower high. So 12,100 to 200 is the first resistance point. 12.5 to 12.6 is the next, and then 12.8 to 12.9 is the next. Okay, so those are the points that you're gonna have to keep in mind to be able to see, market structure either trending up or breaking down. Okay, so when we zoom back on the 2-hour chart, we could see something like this where, the third wave comes back to 12.1, 12.2 resistance. Fourth wave comes back to about 12,000, and that fifth wave kind of stretches up towards 12.6, 12.7. Okay, all of this in terms of wave movement is more than possible. I really don't think that we are going to just sort of break down all the way. I mean, yes, I understand that nothing is impossible, but folks, you have to keep in mind, again, like I mentioned, the bigger picture at play, right? So by that, I mean, when we start looking back on higher time frames like this, what we're really seeing is, first of all, a big sort of ascending triangle, maybe bull pennant. You can make the bull pennant like this. I don't know, like that maybe, so you could see a big bull pennant ascending triangle like that, however you want to look at it. All of this to me is still just consolidation right here. Okay, nothing really has changed in the movement. You can see that price respected this trend line that I drew off this wick and this wick right here, and now we're really just trying to see if we can create a bit of a higher high as per this price right here. Okay, so you'd have to at least try to break above 12.6, or close above it. That would be a very positive sign. If we close at a lower high, it's not the worst sign, because you could say that, okay, we're creating lower highs like this, and then we're also creating higher lows like this, so it's tightening the price into something where it is creating this symmetrical triangle, maybe this bull pennant, which stretches back from over here. This is really the flag pull. This would be the pennant itself, and that could break up, from here 7,000 all the way to 13. So that's a $6,000 move. So if we break on from here, that's takes us to about 19 to 20,000, right? So that's really, where we are, okay? We're just really consolidating. And again, this goes back to what I keep saying is zoom out, look at the bigger picture, and see if you are sort of injecting your own emotional bearish biases in this chart. Now, that's not to say that, hey, we're just going to break on through and, and then what, right? Well, yeah, I mean, anything can happen, right? We could go to like 5,000 tomorrow, but what is the probability and the likelihood of that? I would say it's pretty low, honestly. In a 5-6 month bull trending market, I'm really sort of appalled and surprised that people still think that this looks bearish in any case. Yeah, there's times where the structure itself may look semi-bearish in smaller movements, but that doesn't mean that that's going to just crash down to like 6,000, 8,000, whatever, right? So really just zoom out, take a deep breath, and just keep in mind what's happened, what's elapsed over the past 5-6 months, right? Look at this big sort of movement right here, right? So I don't know, folks. If you keep on believing that we're just gonna fall down to, I don't know, whatever level you're thinking of, I don't know how to convince you otherwise. You're gonna think what you want to think, and that's fine. But just really keep in mind, some of the things that I state, right? All right, I'm gonna delete these blue lines because they didn't really do anything. So I was hoping that it would bounce off one of those blue lines, but no worries. But one positive thing is that we did create a higher low. So here's the low, another higher low right there, and potentially another higher low. Obviously this could break down further and that would negate this, but for now it's looking decent. Okay. Typically, one thing I've noticed is whenever we have sort of these large structures on the 4-hour or 12-hour time frames, right, things just look really bearish on the first leg down where prices are just really just selling off, but then things start to trend and move on up in a nice sort of higher low consolidation manner. And I think that's a very positive sign, and that speaks to the strength of the bulls, okay, where they absorb any supply that really sells off. And to be honest, that's really what you need to see, right? Everything is sort of visible on these charts when you start looking at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture, in my opinion, is prices are still trending up. We're still putting higher lows in this little consolidation period. We bounced off successfully off the 21 and maybe even the 30 EMA over here. We didn't even touch the 30 EMA. Oh, actually we did right here. The yellow is the 30 EMA. The red is the 21 EMA. So we bounced off it once and twice right there. Okay, so very successful bounces so far. Now we just need to see if prices are going to keep trending on up. Okay. Another thing that I'd spoken about is in the last few periods, we had seen sort of bearish divergence with this white line right there, or I'm sorry, this black line right there, right? So higher high in price, higher high in price, and lower high in RSI, lower high in RSI, right? And then after that, what we did see is sort of some hidden bullish divergence where we see some lower lows in RSI and higher lows in price. So just like you see some bearish divergence at the top, you'll see some hidden bullish divergence at the bottom, even over here, right? And then typically what happens is in that bearish divergence, when it pulls back to creating that hidden bullish, that's when we start our next big move up. And I think we might be potentially creating something like that again. Okay, so you could see that we're trying to head towards that RSI where we're going to start creating that the bearish divergence. Okay, so what that would mean is first price needs to go past 13,800, 900, and then pull back down again, and then sort of swing on up nicely. Okay, just if fractals were playing out just like it did back here and back here, not necessary that it does, but it's just something to keep in mind that the last two periods it happened the same way, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in a similar manner again, right? Awesome. So there's a lot of still bullish sentiment still remaining in the market, I would say, in terms of the chart itself. Yesterday we did have this tweet from Donald Trump. I'm not a fan of Bitcoin. I think you guys read this, but honestly, I personally think it was just free marketing. I don't know where this kind of came from. Bitcoin has been in existence for like the past 10 years. He's never tweeted about it. I think he just likes to stir up the pot, really just, shine the spotlight on things that are against his ideals or the status quo of the financial system. So it's really not in his or the government's best interest in America to be able to support things like cryptocurrencies. Given the fact that the government and the economy has failed the American people so many times, you'd think that this would be really the people's currency, if you will. But clearly our government is not going to let up so easily, and tweets like this, in my opinion, do nothing but give free marketing, free press to Bitcoin. And as I've stated many times before, in upward trending bull markets, negative news rarely turns the market around, and in downward trending bear markets, positive news, right, rarely turns the market around into a bull market. Okay, so if anything, these two candles were basically baked into this silly tweet right here, and now it looks like we might be sort of completing that final wave movement up towards 20K or so, maybe in the coming week or two. I don't quite know exactly when it's going to happen, but typically we've seen about a good 3 to 4 weeks of consolidation in these periods over here and over here. So we're coming up on that maybe in the next week, 10 days or so, and hopefully then we make that next move up. All right, so we shall see. All right, now I wanted to sort of check out how else is Ethereum doing. Let's see, Ether. Okay, let's see. Ether, USD. All right, so Ether is back at 275 or so. Back really in this big red block right here that was coming back from over here. Big consolidation zone, right? That we had before a big sell-off. So there's obviously a lot of sellers trapped in here. Breaking through this area is not going to be as easy, folks. There's a lot of sellers just trapped in here. And so for Ether to chew through this, it may take, again, another week or two to get through this area. So with that being said, Ether is still looking good in my opinion. It just has to get through a lot of chop over here, okay? And then it can slowly just trend on up. All right, but I personally think it's still doing really nicely. Ether is still trending up just like BTC is. I would say a lot of other alts are not doing as well. I know someone from our group wanted me to check VET BTC, but I don't see anything special on VET. It's just a pretty deadly looking chart, just like most charts right here. You will get sort of these, spikes, folks, like this one right here, this one right here. These are really just relief rallies, right? Even just this random one-off candle. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're not going to catch these rallies, okay? You want to be able to buy into a trend that moves up, not hope that where you buy is hopefully the bottom and then you'll get a rally like this of 50, 100% or whatever ridiculous number that happens, right? From here to here, prices went up 40%. From this bottom candle to this, there was like a 55% up move right there. Buying these alts right now is just not a wise decision. You basically created an even lower low than the 2017 low that VET started at. So I don't know what to tell you, but this is not a good looking chart, okay? You may want to sort of get off the idea that alts like this are going to come back sometime soon. I don't know, they might, right? I wrote a big post about all these alts are bottomed. At some point they need to. I don't know when that point is going to be, and I don't think you do either. So buying right now, thinking that this is the bottom, when in fact things could go even lower, is just not a wise decision. Because before prices move back up, you might be down 30-40% more, and chances are you're not going to have the emotional fortitude to hold through that. You'll probably sell at the bottom, and while you sell, literally around the same time, prices will pump. So it's just not a wise decision. I would say when prices show you a bit of movement like this and some higher highs moving back up, at the very least on vet moving past 100 to 110 right here, this is really the big support and resistance flip that you need. Then you might want to get back in. But other than that, I don't see anything in vet to warrant me buying into it. All right. LTC is still looking pretty brutal right now. Let's see. But it did actually sort of try to bounce off this middle channel. Doesn't even seem like it's going to bounce right here. I did state this marker right here around 106, 105. Chances are it could even go sideways towards this area right here, which is the bottom of this channel, which it hasn't done in a while. I don't really know what to think of LTC right now, other than the fact that this could actually be really the end of the movement, of the LTC halving being priced in. I don't think that right before the halving prices are just going to pump, in my opinion. I think really the asset to follow right now is BTC and maybe Ethereum, but that's really it. I don't see anything else to be traded in my community. I've stated to my Advantage members that I'm going heavier into BTC than anything else. Kind of put the alts on the side, or I've put them into my longer time frame holdings. Okay, but if you're trying to trade this market, I would say BTC is giving you so many opportunities. I don't know why you want to trade anything else anyway. All right. So folks, if you enjoy this analysis, give me a thumbs up on this video, write me a comment. We do take a lot of time, effort, and energy to do these videos. Like or share our tweets on Cryptosomniac. Go to cryptosomniac.com, buy the technical analysis course. $9 gets you a free course as well as 7 days access, and then $97 a month gives you access to our amazing community where we just have a ton of information, folks. Really just a fantastic supportive community where you can learn a lot, ask questions, show off your skills in either options or margin trading, or if you want to learn about how the stock market is doing or Forex, we have that as well. And we opened up some new channels. We have some new ideas in the works. So I hope you come join, right? Lastly, I just want to check out how the weekly is looking. So, yesterday I had a member sort of explain, to me that, hey, isn't this a shooting star? Why aren't you more bearish? Well, first of all, folks, actually this person mentioned that this is your first, gravestone doji right here, right? And so this is your double top of a shooting star. First of all, yes, this is a gravestone doji, but the follow-up candle basically negated this, right? Typically with the gravestone doji, you mark it as a valid gravestone doji if the follow-up candle closes bearish, which this one did not. It actually closed the other way. Okay, and now the follow-up to this weekly right here is somewhat bullish still. It went to a high of 13,000 but came back in. But again, folks, we have almost a good 2.5-3 days left in this weekly candle right here. So don't think that it can't go even higher. All right, and close around 12.5, 12.6. All right, and that's still, in my opinion, a positive sign. So all of these things, folks, when you look at stuff like this, try not to sort of inject your emotional biases into this. Really just look back and see if you are really looking at the charts from the perspective of what it's showing you rather than what you want to see. And so honestly, what I'm seeing right now is nothing but this was a pause candle. The follow-up was a bullish, and the follow-up even now is somewhat bullish. Okay, so I don't see anything to worry about yet. But like I said, I monitor these markets, like a hawk, pretty much. And our other analyst Jordan does as well. So we are well aware of what could happen, what won't happen, what has the higher chance of happening, etc. Okay. So with that being said, if you want people who are vigilant market watchers, come join the Cryptosomniac community. Give us a thumbs up. And yeah, guys, hope you enjoy this analysis. All right. Cheers.